So here we have two heavyweights, Google's brand new Pixel 10 Pro XL and OPPO's flagship X9 Pro, both promising the best displays, best cameras and next-gen AI performance. After testing them extensively, I want to find out if only one delivers the complete flagship experience or if both should be on your shopping list. So let's break it down: design, display, performance, camera, battery, software and price. See if either one of them can steal the spotlight and win your pocket money. The Pixel 10 Pro XL is all about refined software and Google's own Tensor G5 chip, pushing AI computational photography and long-term updates. It has its sleek polished aluminium sides and a bright, large 6.8-inch Super AccuRate display. The full-width camera bar on the back, whereas the OPPO X9 Pro is a spec beast, 7,500 milliamp battery, 6.78-inch display, and its 200 megapixel Hasselblad telephoto and a Hasselblad branded camera system. It has a Dynasty 9500 Mediatek CPU chipset, tuned for performance, endurance. So it's big, bold, unapologetic and built for power users, whereas the Pixel 10 Pro XL is more understated and built for everyday users. So I think a good place to start here is talking about design. So the Pixel 10 Pro XL keeps its very familiar design from last year, which has the camera bar across the back of the phone. It has a nice, clean, polished aluminium side, and it has the camera bar sort of has an aluminium finish around it as well. The bezels are the same thickness as last year on the screen. It's got a nice matte back on it as well. And it also has a subtle weight balance, so the top doesn't feel like it's going to pull the phone over, which is great because some phones with that huge camera bar at the back of them feel like they're going to fall on the floor all the time, so I always want them in a case. This year's colours are Obsidian, Porcelain, Jade and Moonstone. So the new one is the Moonstone, which I have here, and it looks excellent. I think it's a nice muted understated grey. All understated colours as Pro phones tend to be, whereas the OPPO here goes for, looks very similar. I think obviously the candy bar design is very hard to differentiate nowadays. They all look very much like iPhones, which is not a good thing, but they do. So we've got a flat front glass this time, which is not curved like last year's, which is great because it's much easier to put a screen protector on, so I'm a big fan of that. Razor thin bezels, so we've got new thin bezels this year, as mentioned in my review. An understated camera bump on the back, so last year's camera bump was enormous, this year's is much better and much less protruding from the phone, so I much prefer it this year than last year. So co-branded with Hasselblad, understated, we've got 224 grams, it is heavier, but the camera, but the extra weight hides one of the largest batteries ever seen in the flagship. So I think for that 7,500 milliamp battery, we can cope with the extra weight. So the OPPO is available in very understated colours, which is grey and white, so nothing exciting. So if you want the more exciting colours, you're going to have to go for the Pixel. Both phones use Corning Gorilla Victus Glass 2 on front and back. So the OPPO is IP69 rated, whereas the Pixel's only IP68. So we've got a bit more of a durability on the OPPO than the Pixel, providing protection should you wish to put it in the dishwasher, which I don't do that with my phones, but if you do that, then you should get the OPPO. So the Pixel is on the IP68. So now let's talk about the display on both these phones. So they both bring top tier performance, but both do feel slightly different in how they get there. So the Pixel has a 6.8-inch OLED display, it has a 120Hz adaptive refresh rate, 3,300 nits of peak brightness. The screen is also 486 ppi, so slightly higher than the OPPO than on the PPI, but you can't tell the difference side by side. Honestly, they look great on the Pixel Density. So the Pixel is smooth, color accurate. It's one of the most natural looking panels I've seen. So it's a very understated panel, but it's good for watching HDR content on it because it's not too in your face with colors. Netflix looks great, deep blacks, warm contrast, and it's got minimal color shift off the axis as well, which I do like. When you sort of looking off angle at your phone, you don't get like a different color from both sides. So it's a very uniform panel on the Pixel. So it's a good OLED display on the Pixel. The OPPO is slightly smaller at 6.78 inches. It's a AM OLED LTPO 120Hz panel, so very similar to the Pixel in its technology. Similar resolution. Both you can change the resolution on. I'd recommend going to the menus on both of them straight away and change that resolution to high resolution because you've paid for that resolution, so use it. 3,600 nits of peak brightness and HDR, so slightly better than the Pixel, and you do notice it a little bit outside. The OPPO does feel a bit brighter. Pixel Density 450 ppi, you can't really tell the difference side by side on that, so don't worry about that, it's so small. So Oppo extremely bright outside. It's got I'd say it's got a cooler color calibration and punchier, and you can do more on the Oppo. You can adjust the calibration on it. You can adjust the settings a bit more, and it's got things like video boost on it to boost the HDR content when you're watching it to make it look more punchy, which you can't do on the Pixel. So side by side, the Pixel feels more, I would say, cinematic. It's more understated, so you can watch more HDR on it and feel like you're watching it at the cinema. Whereas the Oppo feels more vibrant. It's better for gaming, I would say, and everyday use because of that vibrant OLED panel. So I prefer the Oppo for everyday use, as not a surprise, and I would choose the Pixel to watch a film on basically because of that cinematic display. So it really depends if you prefer accuracy or intensity on your screen, essentially. So I think now we're going to performance and hardware. So under the hood, both phones are very different. So they both rely on now 3nm chips. The Pixel 10 Pro XL runs on the Tensor G5, which has been co-developed with TSC this year, not Samsung. So we're all hoping that Pixel would pull out all the stops on this Tensor G5 and give us a much more powerful CPU, because the Tensor G4 and the Tensor G3 have all been pretty bad with terrible performance, overheating, and just generally much less performance than the flagship should have. So they partner with 16GB of RAM in the G5. You've got storage choices from 256 up to 1TB, co-designed again with TSC, focusing less on raw horsepower and more on AI processing with the Pixel. So they've not gone for that headline-grabbing Snapdragon 8 Elite or Mediatek 9500. They're going for that AI-enhanced CPU and pushing it, saying that it can do all the AI on the device, like translation, transcription, photo editing, call summaries right on the device without having to go out into the cloud and do it, which I think a lot of phones do that. So the Pixel is starting to feel a bit slow on this Tensor G series chip. So I think Pixel need to really consider where they're going with these Tensor chips. So in everyday use, the apps open instantly on the Pixel. They are fluid. AI tools feel great into the experience. I think the software is good, which we'll come on to in a minute. So the OPPO X9 Pro runs on Mediatek's Dynasty 9500, also 3nm with a choice of 16GB of RAM, only one storage option at 512GB. It's an absolute powerhouse. That Dynasty chip is fantastic. It easily competes with the Snapdragon 8 Elite coming out, last year's 8 Elite, and also this new one that's coming out on the 8 Elite Gen 5. Benchmark scores beat the Pixel by about 20%. We don't do benchmarks on this channel, but I wanted to mention that because I think it's important. The gaming performance is noticeably steadier on the Oppo. I think it runs cooler. It's got a vapor chamber on it, which the Pixel does have, but it's better on the Oppo. The Mediatek GPU is better as well than the Tensor GPU, so you're going to have better gaming performance on the Oppo, hands down. So day-to-day use, the difference is very subtle. Both are more than quick enough for everyday use, I would say. So if you're looking at both these phones, which you shouldn't be because you're a power user, if you're looking at the flagship, then everyday use, you're not going to notice the difference. If you're a gamer or you're editing 4K video, Oppo's extra power makes a big difference and you'll start to notice it. This is particularly noticeable when you're in the camera system, I think, on the Pixel, because the Pixel's camera system starts to feel laggy if you take high-res 50 megapixel pictures and you press that shutter button over and over again. The camera will crash at some point to not let you take a picture. Whereas if you're trying to capture a picture of your dog or your kids or a fast-moving object, such as a small child, then you're going to really struggle to do that in high res on the Pixel, whereas the Oppo, you can take it 200 megapixels to keep on smiling at you as you press that shutter button. So I do think that the Oppo has the edge here with that faster CPU. All right then, it's camera time, which is the headline for all these phones. They have 3 cameras on both of them now. So last year's Oppo, as I mentioned in my review, which I did last week, is that the Oppo X8 Pro had 4 cameras. So I was worried about that the move to 3 cameras would be a downgrade, but actually it's an upgrade with those 3 more powerful cameras and bigger sensors and larger aperture. So we've got on the Pixel 10 Pro XL, we'll start off with, we've got a 50 megapixel main, a 48 megapixel ultra wide and a 48 megapixel telephoto with a 5x optical zoom. So exactly the same as the Pixel 9 Pro from last year. So Google are completely relying on AI enhancement and software upgrades and that Tensor G5 to make the camera better than last year's 9 Pro XL. And I don't think it's particularly that much better than 9 Pro. There is a few enhancements in there. Over the 9, it's a bit faster, but we're still not as fast as the other flagships, as we'll get onto in a minute. So the magic, as I mentioned, is in Google software. Every shot benefits from computational photography, incredible dynamic range, true-to-life skin colors, and balancing lighting even in the harshest lighting conditions such as harsh sunlight or winter sun or snow or anything like that. It works very well. Night sight is also very good on the Pixel 9 I'm going to say 9 Pro XL, 10 Pro XL, and it also is good with the 9 Pro XL if you have that, but the 10 Pro XL night sight is great, and the astrophotography mode is really cool to have as well. So Pixel has some cool features on it, like AdMe, which is interesting to use, just very, some of them are a bit gimmicky, but actually nice to have. Some of them are nice to have. So video looks good and can only be recorded on the Pixel in 4K 30 HDR, which is very sad. I'm very sad about this. I'm really into my video, as you probably realise. So without relying on video boost, this is the maximum sort of recording time on the Pixel. So video boost is Google's way of saying I've put a processor into the CPU, into this phone that's not powerful enough, so they're going to have to take the video and process it on the cloud and send it back to your phone. And they've badged it up into a software saying Video Boost makes these amazing videos, and it does. Honestly, I'm not lying. The videos that come out of Pixel Video Boost look great. It's just the right faff having to send them off to the server and wait for them to download because it takes ages. So what it does is, if you want to take it in higher than 4K 30 HDR, if you want to take 4K 60 HDR, it does all the way up to 8K, then you are going to have to use Video Boost. So what it will do is record a 1080p file on the phone. It will show you that straight away, and then it will send the master file off, which I believe is recorded in the background of the phone in sort of log. We'll then send it off to the cloud, do lots of magic on the cloud, pump it into HDR, and send it back to your phone in 4K 60 HDR. And it does look very good. The video, I'll show you some boosted video I've taken alongside the OPPO's 4K 60 HDR. It does look very good because you're obviously relying on Google service to do the processing, so they do some very good processing, particularly good for low light photography and low light videography. I think it makes the videos in low light pop a bit more and brings out more detail in those shadows. So worth having a go with, but it is a bit of a pain having to send it off to the server to get that 4K 60 HDR. So if you're a content creator, I wouldn't recommend relying on this for video. It's just not good enough. So the X9 Pro is the one that goes bold with the camera system, I like to say. So it's got 50 megapixels main, 50 megapixel ultra wide, and that brand new 200 megapixel telephoto lens gives us a 3 times or 6 times optical zoom, depending on which way you're looking at it. It's partnered with Hasselblad as normal, brings stunning colour science, punchy reds, dramatic blues, and ton of depth in its pictures. It records 4K 120 Dolby Vision HDR, which is great for slow motion. Zoom quality up to 30 times is okay. After that, it starts to get very soft, up to 100 times, and I wouldn't even bother even doing it. I don't know why they bother with these massive zoom ranges. So the Pixel goes up to 100 times too, and I'll show you them both side by side. I'm not very keen. So in short, Pixel wins on point and point shoot, I would say. It's very good because of the software, which means it's hard to take a bad picture. OPPO wins on its flexibility and creative control, so it's a much better choice for content creators or anyone wanting that more control of their camera. One thing the OPPO has as well is that camera button on the side, which is quite useful, and the Pixel doesn't have that. Obviously, you can customize. The volume button does take the picture anyway, but I think the OPPO just has a more powerful camera system. It's one I would choose at the moment over the Pixel for its camera performance if you want more flexibility, as I've just said, or if you're happy with the point and shoot side of things, and the Pixel is hands down pretty hard to beat, particularly with AdMe and things like that. It's just got some nice features on it that you can use, and anyone can sort of pick up the phone and use it without having to worry about it. So I think this brings us nicely on now onto battery and charging, which I didn't cover in my OPPO review because I ran out of time because it was a very long review because there's so many new features on this phone, but this is a good differentiator between the two. So the Pixel 10 Pro XL has that 5,200 milliamp battery and 45 watt charging and 25 watt wireless charging using QI2. And Pixel do some nice accessories to go with your phone. They've got nice Pixel Snap accessories that snap onto the back of the phone, look pretty cool, like MagSafe, and they've got built-in magnets into the phone now, which is very nice as well. This is roughly, I'd say the battery gets about a day and a half of use from real-world testing and moderate use sort of camera streaming and GPS. If you use it a lot, hammer that camera, you're going to get less, probably going to get less than a day. So it's got fast charging to 45 watts, about 50% in 30 minutes, which is fine. It's very average, same as the S25 Ultra. Then the OPPO have really pushed the boat out here. We've got a 7,500 milliamp battery, which is huge. I don't charge this up for 2 days sometimes, which is fantastic. It's got 80 watt SuperVOC as well, and the batteries last 2 full days. So if endurance and charging speeds are your top priority, the OPPO wins hands down. But obviously it doesn't have QI2, it doesn't have the built-in magnets, so I particularly do like the Pixel Snap accessories. They are pretty cool. Nice to be able to just snap it onto the back of a magnetic stand without having to buy a magnetic case for it, which we'd need to buy for the OPPO as well. Also, OPPO's wireless charger isn't very good. I'm not a fan of it. I'd love to hear from you. Do you think the OPPO wireless charger is any good? Because I don't think it is. If you've ever used it, let me know, because I've never been able to get it to work at full speed. So I think we now go on to software. So the software experience on both is quite different. So the Pixel 10 Pro XL runs that stock Android 16, which is Google's own Pixel UI, clean, ad-free, bloatware-free, and it's now packed with Gemini AI. Get more AI summaries, but they're very subtly integrated into the phone. Android 16 is giving us some nicer UI interfaces because Pixel Android 15 was looking a bit dated and a bit left behind in the Android world. So it's nice to see that Pixel have done some updates on it. Like, for example, if you have a Pixel Watch, it will integrate nicely into the phone with the color scheme, and it looks very cool and very nice with the new software. So Google promises 7 years of OS updates on this on the Google Pixel 10 Pro XL, which is class leading. But do you think you would keep your phone 7 years? Let me know what you think. I don't think I would. I obviously wouldn't keep my phone more than 3 months. So would you keep your phone 7 years though if you were buying it to keep? The OPPO Find X9 Pro runs ColorOS 16, which is based on Android 16. It's just come out. It's brand new. OPPO have taken ages to get ColorOS 16 out. Heard from some people who are running OPPO as a Find N5 and are struggling to get the update still. So let me know if you've got ColorOS 16 on yours and what you think of it. So I describe it as colourful, customizable, and loaded with lots of smart features and OPPO's own software on it. So you've got lots of OPPO's own AI software, and people call it bloatware, OPPO's store, and a lot of people don't like those apps and delete it straight away. So I think if you're looking for OPPO, obviously you've got OPPO's photo editing software as well, and you've got Google's on there, so you've got two options to use both. And a lot of people don't like having all this on there, especially if you're not a power user and you're just picking this phone up because you want a decent camera. I think the point and shoot side of the camera, coupled with the smoother software, is leading towards the Pixel being better for the average user, and the OPPO is definitely a power user who wants more customization. So the company promises 5 years of updates with this decent, and ColorOS, I love ColorOS, I'm a big fan of it. It's faster, flashier, more customizable than Pixel's UI, and smarter in some ways, but I'd describe Pixel UI as a more calming influence and something that is smarter for everyday use. So connectivity, both phones come out with everything on top. You've got 5G, Wi-Fi 7, top of the range Bluetooth, eSIM, everything like that, dual stereo speakers. Pixel also gets satellite connectivity and wideband support, so if you want that reassurance that you can be able to use your Pixel to send emergency OS messages on without signal, then the Pixel is the one to go for. If you're out and about all the time, or you're out and about off grid, and the Pixel has that, so just to bear that in mind. I think the OPPO goes slightly louder on stereo sound, so sounds a bit better, and has that cooling vapor chamber, the better vapor chamber for more gaming sessions. Also more extras, but depending on what you value in a phone. So price and value, the Pixel 10 Pro XL starts at £1,099 with full retail price for the Pro XL with 256 gigabytes of storage, whereas the OPPO starts at £1,099. Yes, it's the same price, I know, but gets you 512 gigabytes of storage. So you get double the amount of storage for the same price, whereas for the Pixel, you're going to have to go about £100 more to get the 512 gigabytes. Bear in mind that the Pixel is often on offer, like at the moment it's on Black Friday, so you can get the same amount of storage for the same price as the OPPO. So OPPO is very rarely discounted because it's kind of a smaller retail outlet in the UK. So OPPO gives you a bigger battery, faster charging, and that 200 megapixel telephoto, but Pixels comes back with that with longer updates, smarter AI, and cleaner software. So both are matched on price, but the Pixel has more flexibility on the choice of colours and storage options. It also has easier to find discounts on it at many more retailers, and also mobile phone networks and finance deals as well. So whereas the OPPO is usually full retail price, the OPPO technically offers better value for money with its specs of full retail because of that extra storage and faster CPU. So let's wrap this up then, guys. So I've rambled on long enough as normal. So I want to hear from you. So what do you think about these phones? So I've done some camera examples in this video. I've gone over the specs. I've shown you what I think, but what do you think? Do you think you would buy the Pixel or would you go for the OPPO? And let me know why down in the comments down. Let's get into the discussion and find out what people think. So I'm generally interested in this. So the Pixel 10 Pro XL, in my opinion, is the smarter choice for most people. It's balanced, intuitive, and future-proof, I would describe it as, because there's longer updates, more balanced software, and sort of less over-engineered camera system. So the OPPO X9 Pro is the enthusiast dream. So we've got that over-engineered, powerful, and built for battery and camera lovers, a big battery and that excellent camera system. So if you want the simpler software and great point-and-shoot camera, go for the Pixel. If you want more creative control and customization, then go for the OPPO. So again, let me know what you think. I want to hear from you, and I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope that's been helpful if you're looking at both these phones. I'm a big fan of the OPPO. I just love the new camera system. I'm struggling to part with it, to be honest. I think that camera system is excellent. I do like the Pixel for everyday use though, with that cooler and calmer software. So let me know what you think down below and we'll get into a discussion. So thanks, please subscribe and like if you haven't done already, and comment, and I'll speak to you next time. Thank you very much.